So Pakistan cricket were at their unpredictable best once again. Just when you thought they were cruising through, they somehow faltered. Just when you thought they were not in the game, they fought back again. It was a topsy-turvy ride in the first test against England, but eventually the hosts prevailed and England won the game by 3 wickets. Hello guys, welcome to the Sports Toy. My name is Anurag, and today with us we have Prathamesh, we have Kushagr again, and we also have Shiv Dhawan who's making his debut. Hello Shiv, thank you so much for joining in. So we're going to be discussing the five biggest talking points of the game. To start off with, England have picked. Before we get into the talking points, individually, Shiv, what did you make of the game?
Uh, I think it was Pakistan's game to lose when they scored over 300 in the first innings and bundled out England for 219. Having a lead of 107, I did not expect Pakistan to lose. They were on top of their game for the first 3 days and they just faltered at the end. Okay, so I thought that in the fourth innings, Azhar Ali's captaincy was poor to say the least. He wasn't active as a captain. And I think we will make it more clear in the talking points ahead.
Yeah. Kushagra?
It was a little disappointing to see actually Pakistan throw it all away because in about 12 sessions of play I just felt England won about 2 sessions, and if a team wins a test match after winning just about 2 sessions, that basically shows that you've really let the cat out of the bag or sort of thing, you know. I felt Pakistan almost had the match in their grip and they let it go, you know, having the team down 117 for 5 in the fourth innings and, you know, conceding 160 runs from there. And, the partnership for Woakes and Buttler was for about 33 overs. They did not have a single maiden over during that spell. So it was quite ridiculous, you know, because, there was a point, I know it, you know, by the end of it, it was quite a desperate situation. You know, you were clutching at straws when they were trying to go with 4 runs remaining and 3 wickets, right? So, but see, even that boundary is poignant. They had a third slip, that would have been a catch, and that essentially was the story of Azhar Ali's captaincy. You have Yasir Shah, your most successful bowler in the first innings. He comes on to play. You have about 80 odd runs left to defend, and he plays with just one slip. No forward short leg, no silly point, nothing. Just one slip, and you've got like 4 fielders in the ring. I don't understand what they were playing. So they became really defensive, and they paid the price for it. They sort of played into Buttler's hand.
Yeah, that indeed. I mean, you've did mention quite a lot there, but Prathamesh, what do you have to add on to it?
Well, Old Trafford is just topsy-turvy games, and one sport or the other. And this was another one of those. I think really, Pakistan. A lot of people have been talking about Pakistan and how they threw the game away. But I think you have to admire the mindset of Buttler and Woakes at the same time. The way they batted, their positivity that they showed, wherein it almost looked as if every over or every alternate over there was a ball that's coming with your name on it when it's going to take your wicket. So the positivity that they showed in the second innings was really good to see. Pakistan's Shan Masood had a really good game. So I think Pakistan, as Kushagr said, dominated for most of the game. But, you know, there are those key moments in games where you tend to win or lose the game, and that is where England are really good at. They're able to capitalize on the moments where you slightly think that things are turning over to the one side or the other. England were able to capitalize on that, and I think that is why they won the match.
Yeah, that's true. I think there's very little to add on to that, but again, getting a little bit into details. The first major talking point of the game was England and Pakistan. Both teams, there were some questions over their team selections. England picked 6 individuals in the 11 who could bat well. So you could say they picked 6 batsmen, the 6th one being Ben Stokes. As far as Pakistan were concerned, Shadab Khan played the game, but he bowled just over 10 overs. And there were plenty of question marks raised on that as well, because Fawad Alam, who's been has been smashing the doors for so long, he's finally got into the team, and yet he finds no place again. Shiv, over to you. So where do you think both teams had their choices spot on, or did they make something? Did they sort of make a mistake there?
I think England was spot on in their selection. They could have had another batsman, but then Ben Stokes wasn't fit to bowl before the game. I was watching the run-ups, the warm-ups. Ben Stokes was warming up before the game, and he was unfit to bowl. let me remind you, he bowled 4 overs, but he was unfit to bowl. And Chris Woakes, after the game, said that Ben Stokes is a hero. We all know he's heroic in the way he operates. So I think England was spot on with the selection, because considering they had no choice, they did not have a choice because Stokes couldn't bowl. So, but Pakistan, coming to Pakistan, as you said, Shadab bowled, I think, 10.3 overs in total. And they already had a leg spinner in Yasir Shah, who exploited the conditions really well. I thought Pakistan could have gone in with Fawad Alam at number 7. Fawad has been in wonderful touch in domestic cricket, and I think he could have got more runs than what Shadab did. And considering that Shadab bowled only 10.3 overs, those 10.3 overs could have been shuffled amongst other bowlers as well. So I think Pakistan went wrong there. They should have gone in with 4 bowlers and Fawad at 7.
True, and even those 10 overs, even Fawad himself could have bowled those. So bringing that to Kushagr, they did went in with 2 leg spinners, but there was only 1 leg spinner who was really making the difference there, wasn't he?
Yeah, Yasir Shah is a class bowler. He's done very well in England over the past 2 tours as well. And it just goes to show that he's sort of trying to prove his critics wrong, because he's been labelled as a Middle East bowler, right? A guy who takes a lot of wickets in the UAE. And if you remember, he did not have a very good tour home series of against Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. There were questions over his spot. So in that sense, he must be really relieved. He had a really good match, picked up 9 wickets, if I'm not wrong. And but apart from that, there isn't that much to be said about the Pakistani bowling. They're really good, and Naseem Shah again looks really impressive. We were all discussing on a private chat about the potential of the guy, and he's good. Regardless of the age controversy, he's really good. And Shaheen Shah Afridi, sort of hit and miss again, but yeah. So all in all, I felt Pakistan. I don't know. I think for me, I think the classic rule of if you are away, you always bank a little more on your batting. I do not know why they go in, and if they had actually gone in with the 5th bowling option, then why did they not utilize him more? So it was a little confused. But all in all, I think the other 2 matches will be close, because both the teams are close. I don't think England will be able to run away with it, and Pakistan will have their moments. Let's see if they can seize them.
True. Prathamesh, you did seem to have some problems with England's selections, but what do you have to say about it?
Well, I think against a team like Pakistan, who have such a good quality bowling lineup, I felt England were a batsman short. You could see that in both the innings. I think, and I think the major issue was Chris Woakes' performances before this game, because he averaged around 5 or 6 runs in the last 5-6 games. So he was not really in a good nick at all. And neither did, I think, in the first innings they did bowl well to him, but in the second inning they missed a trick or 2 against him. And I think Woakes, the potential of Woakes actually clicking was seeming a little dull at the start of the game. But then he did do well. So I think eventually it worked out well for them. Obviously, Stokes was injured, not able to bowl. He did bowl 4 overs. He picked up 2 wickets. And he actually set a good precedent in his bowling, where how you could actually exploit on a soft ball in that pitch conditions wherein it was drying out. There was an odd ball that was jumping big time. So he did set a good precedence in second innings as well. But I think overall, if you look at the game, England did look a batsman short, and Buttler also was not confident enough at the start of the game with his batting. But eventually it worked out well. So all that ends well is well in the end. So let's see next game if Stokes is fit enough to bowl. I feel either one of Anderson or Broad might have to pave way, but I think Anderson more likely than Broad, because I think Broad provides a good balance to the team in terms of the batting as well. So you never know how the next game goes. Depends all on Stokes' injury.
True, and there's a rotation policy going on as well. So let's see what happens there. So the second talking point, England bowling 2 full in the first inning. So that so basically there wasn't much on offer. So I think the pitch was a bit too flat. Jofra Archer came out and said quite a lot, although he did pick up that beautiful wicket of Asad Ali in the first innings. But still, there wasn't much on offer, was that, Kushagr?
It was. See, I think even though this is like for the third Test match in Manchester, I'm sure they've not been using the same pitch, and they've been changing the pitches for all the matches. It in general the pitches there look underprepared. In general you're not seeing that spice in the pitches. They're a little on the slower side, and they are definitely favoring the batsman. But again, in England, as the cliche goes, it's not so much about what's on the ground, but basically what's above your head. So the weather conditions do play a big part, in helping the swing and everything else. So uh, the pitch did not help that much. But as you were saying yourself, I don't think England bowled really well. That was the point that I made earlier when I said that England did not win 10 out of the 12 sessions that they played. Especially in the first innings for Pakistan, I don't think they bowled well. They had Pakistan in a slightly tough spot. When they had three down for I think 30 or 40. So they had them in a tough spot and they couldn't capitalize. And so I think Jofra Archer again. I would like your opinion on this. He came in as a bowler. He used to bowl at 90, 95 miles an hour, scoring at 83. I seriously saw Jimmy Anderson bowl faster than him. I mean, what was the scene? If you could elaborate there. Because Anderson was bowling at 87, 88, and Jofra Archer is coming in at 83, 84, and I know everything's not about pace, but that is his X factor. That's why he's in the team. He's not another medium pacer, is he?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a moderator, so I'll just transfer that question to Shiv. What do you got to say about it?
I actually agree with Kushagr because I have been observing Jofra for quite a long time. Even in the previous series, his pace wasn't as much as it used to be. Like in the 2019 World Cup, if you remember that 2019 World Cup, Jofra was spewing fire. He was really bowling at his best. He was bowling a lot faster than what he does now. And Anderson was bowling faster than him at a point. But then I feel that sitting at home, you can't know how the pitch is behaving, how the pitch is playing. So I don't think we have to blame Jofra. Talking about the England bowling, I think England gave it away as well while they were bowling in the first innings. But you have to appreciate Shan Masood, the way he batted. For a visiting team to go to England and for a batsman to bat like this, it does not come easy. Okay, so I believe there's a lot of there's a lot of mental ability which goes into your shot making while you are playing in England because of the conditions that are on offer. So I believe, again, coming back to the Jofra Archer point, I think the pace thing, I won't comment on the pace thing because of the conditions. He knows it better than us, obviously. So I won't comment on that. But I think Jofra has to work a bit on his bowling in Test cricket.
Yeah, I think you pretty much sum it up well. Also, not just about England bowling full as well. We also saw Naseem Shah bowling a lot of the the cutters and everything. Just when he noticed things were not happening very well to him, Naseem Shah just adjusted to the conditions really well, didn't he, Prathamesh?
Yeah, I think Pakistanis are used to play on pitches where the pitch doesn't do much for them, to be honest. And when this pitch really dried up, the ball wasn't reverse swinging as well. The conditions weren't suiting it. There was the odd ball was jumping, as I said before. So I think he used his intelligence pretty well. He was bringing in the cutters. He was changing up his line and length. He was mixing it up. He was making it difficult for the batsman, not being predictable. And I think one thing which I liked about every Pakistan bowler is they were hitting the deck hard. Him, especially Naseem and Shaheen, they were hitting the deck hard, which is why they were able to generate that fluctuation of bounce. They were able to get those cutters right. You saw in the second innings the wicket of Ollie Pope, which Shaheen picked. I mean, that ball was something, it was
Just
totally
flew up.
unplayable.
Yeah.
And and there were a couple of balls even after that did give similar bounce. And I think the spinners also bowled really well. The Yasir Shah rather bowled really well. Since Sehab didn't bowl much, he did pick up 2 wickets in the first innings. But I think Yasir's bowling was quite impressive. Last time at Old Trafford, he went for almost 300 runs in 2 innings combined. So I think this one for him must have really felt good. He bowled the right lengths. I think he was able to draw a shot from the English batsman most times. I think until that second innings phase where he was bowling a negative outside leg stump line to Buttler, where he started reverse sweeping him every ball. So I think Yasir Shah did really well, and the Pakistan bowlers actually bowled well. They used the conditions well. But in the second inning, it also came down to a lot of the captaincy, and I think that is where they really lost the game.
Yeah, true. I think there's that's probably the best way to get into our next talking point, which is Azhar Ali's captaincy. So I'll start with you, Prathamesh. I mean, there were plenty of talks about the captain being, just he was not active enough. He was not proactive enough. So what do you have to say about that?
I think for Azhar Ali, this was a completely new situation because the matches which he's previously taken charge of, either he has won with huge margins or he has lost with huge margins. I think this one was a one-off game for him, wherein he had to captain in the fourth innings, which, to be honest, is a difficult thing because the things keep on changing session after session. Sometimes, in 10 overs phases, the pitch keeps on changing regularly. So you have to be really proactive and react to that. I think they missed a huge trip with Chris Woakes. I think Azhar Ali did because when Woakes came onto the pitch, the ball wasn't doing much at all. And that is when Abbas was bowling. For me, if there is no swing and if the pitch isn't doing anything, if the ball isn't doing anything, bowling Abbas doesn't make sense. So I think it was that is where they could have brought in Shaheen. They could have aimed bouncers at Woakes, who is very uncomfortable playing a ball that is close to his eye line and that is on his body. If he faces difficulties, there was one chance where he actually scooped one. It just went just above Yasir Shah. And I think they bowled a very comfortable line into him. It is as if the standards just dropped. They were just bowling comfortable, and then the field setup was, as Kushagr mentioned previously, that there were a lot of gaps wherein England could manipulate those singles and doubles, especially in the final session. And in the session before that, England scored 50 runs in 48, 49 balls, and wherein Woakes and Buttler went completely attacking. I think that is when, again, Azhar Ali missed a trick or two, wherein he could have realized it earlier that England were attacking, could have spread the field out a little bit quicker, wherein those flow of boundaries actually allowed England to just get out of that pressure situation, and then they were just able to cruise home literally after that.
Yeah, Kushagra. So what do you have to say about the same?
Uh, as far as I think the captaincy is concerned, yes, I did mention that fair amount. I felt Azhar Ali sort of lacked that killing instinct. I don't know. I don't know if we can cut him slack by saying that he hasn't captained in the test matches which have had a close finish, and or if the captaincy in the fourth innings is a little difficult aspect. Because yes, of course, I'm not denying that, but it's a little funny because the margins are so small. If a couple of balls had pitched correctly and a couple of decisions had gone their way, we would have been saying the same thing about Joe Root. Because I feel both the captains are under huge pressure. Both of them are not scoring, especially Azhar Ali. If you pick up his records from 2018, it makes for a really poor reading. I think his average is in the late 20s or early 30s, and
It's 18.
he's at like,
It's 18 actually.
sorry,
It's actually 18.
18. Oh wow, that's even more like even more worrisome. And if he's got like one century that he scored against Sri Lanka or Bangladesh, I'm not being able to recollect that. He scored it just before the beginning of the lockdown. So Azhar Ali, he has had issues, and even if you remember, Anurag, when he took over the captaincy for a little while before Sarfaraz, he was even then he
Yes.
was criticized for being a very very modest and moderate captain, someone who will not go for the kill, sort of defensive or sort of rather cautious, something like what Misbah used to be. Misbah is also often found guilty of this. So I felt so that is where they could genuinely look at in the next test match. If they're trying to get an initiative, they have to seize it. And if they'll not seize it, this English team has got a few match winners. You saw Woakes and Buttler do what Stokes did against West Indies essentially. So that if that can happen, I think you need to take your chances when they're there.
True. Shiv, on to you.
I think I agree with both of them. Azhar Ali wasn't as proactive as he should have been. There was this period right before tea where England accelerated a little when Buttler and Woakes were at the crease. They scored 15, 8, 9 overs. And I thought tea came at the right time for Pakistan. I thought they could bounce back after tea because, Yasir was bowling really well. Although Buttler had hit him for a few boundaries, but Yasir was bowling well. So I thought after tea, I thought Azhar Ali would get on Yasir from one end, but he did not. He did not opt for Yasir. Then there was another instance while Stuart Broad came at the crease, and the game was really close. They did not need a lot of runs. I think 15 or 19 runs were required, and he went back to Shadab. The new ball would have been available 1 over later, and Stuart Broad actually scored a boundary in that over, bringing the total further
Yes,
down.
he swept it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he swept.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Azhar Ali was trying to do with Shadab right there, because the chances of Shadab getting Broad out, they were there, but Broad played that over very carefully. He only swept, I think, one ball, and rest he defended, and he had three fielders deep on the leg side. And I think, while Buttler and Woakes were batting, Prathamesh said earlier that Azhar Ali could have taken the field back. He could have opted for a field deeper. I don't agree with him, because Azhar Ali actually did that after T. But then Buttler and Woakes were batting really smartly. They were hitting the gaps, they were getting the ones and twos, and that is why they were getting the boundaries. So I felt Buttler and Woakes batted brilliantly, but Azhar Ali lagged as a captain.
True, that's true, and that's a great segue into our next talking point, which is perhaps the biggest talking point of the whole game, which was Butler and Woakes in the middle. Uh, Once they both came to the middle, I mean, that was a very precarious situation at that point in time. Ben Stokes was gone, Joe Root was gone, Ollie Pope just. I mean, unfortunate for the guy. That was a very difficult ball, and any batsman would have fallen prey to that. When Joss Butler, Chris Woakes came in, it wasn't really the most comfortable of situations, Kushagr, but the way they capitalized on it with the positive mindset. I remember Joss Butler, he straight away played as a reverse sweep and broke the shackle. So I think that was indeed brilliant.
Yeah, for all his struggles, you have to give it to Josh Butler. When he's in flow, when he's in full flow, there are only a handful of batsmen in the world you would rather watch than Josh Butler. His innovative shots. I don't want to compare him with AB de Villiers, but Josh Butler is also another player who can play all around the pitch. Can play 360-degree shots, and his reverse sweeps, his paddles, and everything else. Of course, the way he's able to find gaps. Felt for the amount of pressure Josh Butler was in, and especially for the test match that he had been having missed catches, missed stumping, not really collecting the ball very well behind the stumps, people questioning his spot in the side, people already writing him off even from this series itself. So for his own self-confidence and especially for his own test career, he's given it a new lease of life. He performed well in the last match against West Indies as well. He scored a very quick knock there as well, and something on a similar lines he did that here as well. So I felt Josh Butler deserves a lot of credit. Of course, Chris Woakes is sort of like Bhuvneshwar Kumar is here in India, right? He doesn't hog as much limelight, but he's a very vital cog in that team. If you see in the first innings for Pakistan, and even to an extent in the second innings, Chris Woakes was almost always dangerous, and he sort of slips under the radar there, under the 1,000 wickets of Broad and Anderson, 1,100 wickets, of Broad and Anderson, and the extreme pace of Jofra Archer, and just the maverick that is Stokes. So we don't end up talking about Chris Woakes, but he's a very vital component of this team, be it the white ball format or the red ball format. So hugely impressed by these two. And it just sets us up for an even more exciting series if these two are able to keep playing to their potential.
Yeah, Shiv, on to you. I mean, just when these both started attacking, and also you rightly mentioned they played very smart cricket.
Yeah, right. Both of them, Josh Butler and Chris Woakes, they were under tremendous pressure because nobody had got runs. Both of them hadn't got the kind of runs we expect them to get. And Chris Woakes was playing at number 7, which added that further more responsibility upon him because England were one batsman short. So I felt Chris Woakes needed to contribute. So did Buttler, because Butler's place in the squad was online. You did not know if Buttler would have played the second test or the third test or not. So I think they capitalized really well. And let me be very honest, when England were 117 for 5, I did not expect these two to carry the team home. And Joe Root actually gave a statement after the game that he told Buttler to approach this as an ODI. And I think Azhar Ali, the way he was setting fields, I think it made it easier for Buttler to approach the game as an ODI. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think,
that's true.
yeah, and I think Chris Woakes, as Kushagr said, Chris Woakes is a very Bhuvaneshwar-like player. With the bat, he's quite handy, but he does not hog the limelight that often, and that is because England have the big guns. But I believe Chris Woakes is a very talented batsman who can win furthermore games in the future for England. And England made the right moves as well. Talking about Chris Woakes, Josh Butler, even at number 8, they sent Stuart Broad in, and Broad actually got a boundary which released the pressure. So released the pressure of Woakes because the new ball was going to be available quite soon after that. So I think England made the right moves, and Butler and Woakes were fantastic.
True. Prathamesh, on to you.
What else can I add, man? Because they were just fantastic. I think what really helped Butler and Woakes, and especially Butler, is that he could approach it as like a one-day game because they had to either win it or lose it. There was no chance that the game was going to end as a draw. So they had to score those runs. They were in a situation where they needed some 160 plus runs, and there was no recognized batting plan after these two. So they had to go after it, and that is what they did in that second session of the fourth day. They went after the bowling, and they picked the right balls to hit the boundary. It is important to notice also that they had a very good defense. They had a solid defense, but when they realized that the ball was slightly off and they could take it to the boundary, they did that, and did that very effectively. Also, I mean, the bowling didn't help. The ball was really soft. It wasn't doing much, so that played in England's hands. And I think when in the last session, as the target got closer and closer, they were a bit more cautious. But they were still proactive. They were taking the singles. They were finding the gaps. They were troubling Pakistan players enough. And I think that was a vital knock for Josh Butler because it just gave him that self-confidence. I think he even said after the match that he wasn't quite confident, but after this knock that he feels confident about himself as a test match player as well. So, and I think this is how Butler should approach his game. This is what his game is. This is what he does. He scores on bad balls. He picks up singles and doubles on the others. I think he's got a strong defense as well. And if he starts stopping on his USP, that is hitting those balls to the boundary, I think it doesn't make sense for him to play like this. So if he does play like this, and if Woakes, as you guys rightly said, he's the dark horse in this team where he's not noticed a lot, but his performance is essential. I think he goes a really very good consistent line in length. He always tries to engage the batsman while he's bowling, and I think his batting is really sensible. He keeps his head strong. He knows he doesn't want to hit a lot of boundaries. Essentially, he wants to pick the gaps. But he was timing the ball really well yesterday, which is why he scored a lot of boundaries. He has the issue with the short ball, but he is manipulating his position on the crease really well of late. It wasn't really working out, but yesterday it did. So, kudos to both of them. Actually, it was a tough situation at 117 for 5. I thought this is a matter of half an hour, but then these two guys really pulled it off.
So yeah, the fifth and final talking point of the game. I mean, Pakistan cricket at their unpredictable best, man. I don't know what you could possibly talk about it. They were up once, they were down once, they were all over the place. Shiv, what do you have to say about it? It's so difficult for their fans. It must be so difficult for their fans, doesn't it?
No, I agree with you. It's fans, I believe. Pakistan, we all know how unpredictable they can get while they play. I have seen them lose a game while they required 2 of the last 6 deliveries, even lose closer games than that. Uh, in this game, while they had a lead of 107 in the first inning, I did not think that Pakistan would lose from that point. And in the fourth innings, when they had not bundled out, but they had restricted England to 117 for 5, there was no way Pakistan could have lost that. Had I been not watching the game and had you told me that Pakistan lost from that position, I wouldn't have believed you. Most Pakistan fans wouldn't have, because Pakistan of giving away games like these, and they have done it in the past. But I'm still back to win this series because they have the armory to do it. I think their batsmen haven't been clicking yet. Click sometime in the second game or the third game. And I think they have the bowling department. They have the likes of Shadab, Yasir. They have their three bowling really well. So I think, yeah, Pakistan are very unpredictable in their approach, but I am backing them to win the series.
That's a pretty bold prediction there from Shiv. Kushagra, what do you have to say about this?
Pakistan are a difficult team to support. you never know when things are going to turn around, and it's going to end up in a rather unpleasant situation, which happened at in Manchester yesterday. As far as the tendency to surprise their own fans is concerned, it is quite appalling that they let 160 runs go by when having the other teams, half of the team back in the shed. So they definitely need to take lessons from this. I don't know if I'm as confident as Shiv is in terms of Pakistan winning the series, though I must confess, before the series started, I felt that Pakistan were the better side. I still England do not. I don't think England have changed my mind just because two players have pulled them out of the mire. Still don't think England are a very good test team, and still find their batsmen and especially the technique of their batsmen to be almost unwatchable. I think they're the prime candidates to actually get out very steeply again, and given the right conditions, Southampton, which it could happen. So I would just like for Pakistan to be more decisive. Stick to one formula. Do not go with a half enough strategy that I felt that they did this time.
Yo, Prathamesh. So again, the same old things that have been happening with Pakistan, unpredictable stuff. Do you think there is, now that they have lost the game, what most people would not predict is for them to come back? Do you think they'll do that again?
I think the major problem with Pakistan is not the way they play the cricket. Sometimes it's their mentality as well. They get it wrong in terms of how they think about the game. I think when they go closer to a situation when they're winning, they become a little ultra cautious. And I think that is where they lost this game as well. They were trying to defend the runs rather than trying to take those 5 wickets somewhere. And that didn't work well for them, obviously. I think Misbah, Yunus, and the think tank and collectively will have to work on that. The mental conditioning is really important, especially when you're going to a place like England where unpredictable things happen anyway. So that is going to be important for them. The strategies have to be right. They can't afford to mess up like they did in the fourth innings. And obviously, I think England do have match winners. They do not have a properly gelled test team, but they do have match winners within the team who can get them out of this mess that they usually create these days. So I think it's going to be a difficult series to predict whether Pakistan or England, it could be anybody's day, because as you said, Pakistan have this tendency of messing up. England have these match winners, and it can go the other way around as well. So for me, the series probably ends 1-1 with a draw somewhere down the line, because it's England. It might rain anytime. I don't know how it's going to work out there at Rose Bowl, but I think England themselves will have a lot to work on. As you said, the batsman's technique isn't especially something that is really talked about a lot, especially the two openers, Tom Sibley and Rory Burns. But I think the unconventional techniques of theirs, or whatever way they score their runs, I think they did change a bit in the second innings, especially Tom Sibley, because he started batting slightly out of his crease and she started adapting a little bit. But they will have to do a lot more of that and be really decisive in how they do it. Otherwise, I think Pakistan definitely have the armory, at least on paper, to take the series away and win the rest of the two games. Whether they can mentally do it or not is a different aspect altogether. So if they sort of their mental aspect, I think Pakistan can win the series. Otherwise, I feel it's going to be a draw.
That's a pretty diplomatic finish from Prathamesh there. So thank you so much, guys, for joining in at the Sports Doyen. It was really nice to have you guys. It was a very detailed conversation. Thank you so much. I hope you guys like the video. Please do like, share, and subscribe to the Sports Doyen and keep supporting us. Thank you so much.